Welcome back to the Positive Gains podcast. Today, my special guest is Rachel Schick. And it's not every day that you have a former All American gymnast on the podcast, but somebody who's also impacting the community as a dentist, brand new to the Gila Valley. So, Rachel, thank you for being on.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm trying to impact the community and serve others as much as I can. So thank you for having me on and being able to possibly indirectly, share positivity.
Absolutely, you're on the right path, the right platform for it. So, a little bit of background. Like I've told you before, I'm somebody who's afraid of dental offices, and like many people won't probably admit it, but I know they are too deep down.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Tiffany down at the office. She kind of helped facilitate this interview, and she had mentioned that yeah, you were a gymnast at the University of Georgia, an All American, and that's not really something that I think most people are accustomed to being around and having access to somebody like that, in large part that and dentistry, right? So um, early life, what was early life for you?
So early life, around the age of 4, I started gymnastics, and my mom put me in it because I said that I wanted to do what Mickey Mouse Circus was doing. So she enrolled me in gymnastics. It was just one of those things where I just stuck with it. Um, I think if you ask my mom today, she would say that if she could go back in time, she probably wouldn't enroll me just because of, it was great. And it has got me to where I am today, being a dentist. I wouldn't be a dentist if I never went to the University of Georgia and did gymnastics there. But in my early life and as a teenager, I became very good very quickly. And my coaches pushed me really, really hard. And unfortunately, because of that, I kind of I thought that pushing and pushing and pushing was the norm. So as a young girl and into honestly college, I battled an eating disorder. And it's kind of ironic that I became a dentist because through gymnastics, or my time in gymnastics from around age 12 until, in mid college, I battled anorexia and bulimia. And if you know anything about bulimia, it will impact your teeth. And it actually starts to make your teeth weaker and it erodes your teeth. So now, as a cosmetic dentist, I'm so passionate about providing others and serving others with smiles they want and that they feel so comfortable in because of my experience with my teeth. Because my teeth started to get very sensitive, and in dental school is when I kind of realized that what I was doing in my early life and how hard I was pushing myself as a gymnast, but had really impacted me. So, um, going back to my early life, as you can tell, I was like very, very dedicated. It's funny because my dad, he actually said that I was not good enough to go like get a college scholarship, specifically to Georgia, because Georgia, we've won 10 national championships as gymnasts. So we are the best, like the cream of the crop. And he bet me. He said, if you verbally commit to the University of Georgia, I will buy you any car you want. And I verbally committed my uh, summer of my freshman year in high school. And the first thing I did, I turned to my dad and I said, I want a 2-door E-Class 350.
And he made it happen for you.
I did, yeah, yeah. Um, I was also, because I worked so hard as a young gymnast, I was on the path to go to the Olympics, but then I ended up breaking both my ankles. And going through a very tough time as a young woman uh, with such a life change, because I was so used to waking up at 5 a.m., going to work out. Then I would come home and do homeschool, and then I'd go back to the gym. And then it got to the point after, I broke my ankles, I was in bed for it's about 2 weeks or so, that I started to really, I felt like my identity was lost. And I was a junior in high school at that time. So young and going through a big change. But I do attribute all of that I just kind of talked to you about and was vulnerable with you and others about, to who I am today and why I'm so big on positivity. I'm so big on creating value for others and helping them see it, and then serving them in the way that they need and what I can do, because of honestly my early life and the struggles and the resilience that I had to go through.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, especially being vulnerable enough to open up. Um, and how are you able to overcome some of those earlier obstacles, with the bulimia and some of the other things that were going on? How are you able to move past it?
So what really helped me was asking for help. Sounds so trivial, but I think it was just instilled in me to work hard and to put my head down, that I never really thought that others cared because I needed to always prove myself. I was always in gymnastics, you're always trying to prove yourself. You're always trying to be a perfectionist. So indirectly, I learned that I shouldn't ask for help. I just need to put my head down and work harder. So it got to the point when I was in dental school where I finally told my family and I asked for help. And then they kind of helped me get through it. And it was more at that moment when I asked for help and really relied on my family and their support, was when I stopped throwing up. I started eating more and I became healthy, honestly.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're able to overcome that. I mean, that can, be a pretty traumatizing time, and shout out to your family for being a good support rock, and somebody that you could lean back on. Georgia, Georgia is a powerhouse, right? We always hear SEC for everything. Um, but like as far as because for myself, I don't know a whole lot, about gymnastics. So like you had said that you had verbally committed your freshman year. So
Yeah.
how does somebody like what are they doing as far as competition wise? Like is it the same as like an AAU type, like for basketball, where people go to these different showcases and colleges are out there and they're out scouting? Is it the same thing for gymnastics? I mean, because for you to commit so early, I mean, that means you were on a pretty wide scale, right?
Yes. So first off, go dogs. Always. I bleed red and black till I die. And um, great question, because it's definitely a lot different for gymnastics. At a
Okay.
young age, I started going to Texas, where the headquarters was for USAG, which is pretty much like, I'm trying to think of it's just pretty much like if you are young and you want to go into or being in the Olympics, they have a program called Tops, where these young girls starting at age 9 will go to the camps in Texas and do all these different skills and strength testing. And if you can test really well in the strength and also the skills, then you're invited back to the camp and you're put in different groups depending on how good you did. And I was able to get into Tops A group. And there is when at that time, Marta Paroli was the head of USA Gymnastics. So I had her that was watching me. And then I had other coaches that were on the USAG committee. And then from there, at age 9, I kind of just went through that program until I think it was 11, Then I stepped into what's called pre-elite and elite. From there is when you kind of, as a gymnast, you're competing as a elite gymnast, but you're also competing in what's called just normal compulsory gymnastics. So that goes from level 4 to level 10. So when I was 11, I was level 9, and doing elite on the side. So at a young age, you go to, so you have the elite camp, and then you have the compulsory championships. And you go from state championship, then to regionals, then to nationals. So at age 11 and 12, I went on to nationals. And
Wow.
at those competitions is when normally all the colleges would come. But before, like, let's say that you were in the elite program, they already knew who you were, because colleges, they want a young girl who is already really, really developed in her strength and skill at a young age. So they're looking at the elite girls, and then they're watching them in the compulsory aspect. So I had colleges call me, well, technically not call me, but send me letters to my gym starting when I was 10 years old. And it was one of those things at nationals, and when I was 13 is when I started to feel comfortable enough to go up to coaches. And I pretty much went up to all the coaches like Alabama, Florida, UCLA, LSU, like all the big name schools. I went up to them as a 13-year-old and was like, "Hi, I'm Rachel Schick. I'm interested in your school, and I want a college scholarship. So what do I need to do?" And most of them just said, "We are so happy you're interested. We're going to send you a couple more letters with a little more detail." And most of them always said to, like, just keep doing what you're doing. When you're old enough, we'll be able to talk more, and we'll reach out. We'll bring you back on for a tour of the campus. And that's kind of how it goes in the gymnastics world. So it depends on how early you're seen. It depends on if you're going first, like in the elite route and compulsory.
And thank you for clearing that up, because again, I know a lot of people probably didn't know that as well. And so getting on the campus of Georgia, what was that like for you? Just being so far away from home, the level of competition, the training.
So I knew I wanted to go to Georgia by the age of 10. When I stepped on the campus in Athens, I felt at home. Like, I just knew, like, this is where I want to go. I mean, Georgia's beautiful. And I grew up in Southern California. And I mean, now looking back, I realized that where I grew up was beautiful too. But I was just so mesmerized and I had this drive that I wanted to go to Georgia, that I was so captivated by the campus and, like I said, the scenery. The level of competition, very high. We had inter squads every single week. So an inter squad was where we kind of created our own competition. We'd have black and red teams, and the coaches would split the girls up in the different teams, and we would compete against each other. And depending on how well we did was going to be if we were going to be in the lineup that weekend. And we started these inter squads early in the season. So gymnastics season doesn't really start until January, but we started these inter squads in September. Okay. So always really, you had to be at, the best of your best. And to do that, the training was a lot different than what I was used to. So I was used to in club days and compulsory days, elite days, where we did a lot of body strength exercises. And so, like, handstand push-ups, press handstands, things where you didn't have to lift weights. It was just body. At Georgia, we were in the summertime, we would have one workout where it was just weights. We go work out, then we come back into the weight room and we do just HIIT workouts. So then it wasn't really per se just body weight, but we would have a lighter weight too.
Right.
And then the trainers would change the workouts like every 2 weeks. And by the time we got into inter squad season in September is when we'd push weight really, really hard. So that time of year was always very, very strenuous for us girls because we were stressed out about trying to be in the lineup, and then we were always sore.
Mhm.
The our athletic trainer Josh, he's on another level of how well he is with working with us, like personally, and making us feel motivated, but also inspiring us. Because there was a lot of times where I walked into that weight room and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I got stuff to do. I have an exam or a final I need to go study for, and so I mean, there was a lot of tears from a lot of girls, and at the end of the day, with how competitive it was, there was at least 5 girls fighting for your spot. So you had to put a smile on your face and push through it. So I'm very thankful for my weight coach because, like I'm saying, it was a lot different than what I was used to, and then it was just mentally and physically very challenging.
I've seen now that some even high schools offer like mental health professionals, like for the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
They started to trickle down. Did they have anybody on campus that that did anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Thankfully, we all had to go and talk to this lady. It's funny because hindsight, looking back as a freshman, I had I did not want to be there. I walked into that room and I was just looking at the clock, waiting for me to get out. But
Mhm.
as a senior, I like now looking back, I can tell that the way I handled those appointments got so much different. What changed? Like I opened up more. I realized that I did need help because it was challenging. So I'm very thankful for the University of Georgia for making that mandatory because in the end, yeah, I definitely needed it.
You had said that injuries that you I think broke your ankles, right?
Yep.
You had Olympic hopes and dreams there, and but somehow you had managed to move on and move forward into a whole nother realm, dentistry. And so earlier you had said about wanting to bring people's their smile back and having people feel comfortable, and consultations and things like that. So being a dentist, I mean, what is the best part of everything?
Um, I mean, every day I wake up and I truly feel like the Lord put me on this planet to serve others through dentistry. So, no matter what my day entails, I think the best part of it is that I know in my core that I am here to serve others and I'm doing what I'm called to do. Um, but I think one of the best things about dentistry, especially why I love cosmetic dentistry, is because you can take, I mean, I'm technically, as I would term myself, a non invasive cosmetic dentist. So I do a lot of additive smile makeovers. So I'm not having to get you numb. I'm not having to do hopefully temporaries. And I'm pretty much giving you a smile that you never thought most people that I've treated never thought was even possible with just honestly adding porcelain to their teeth and building up their smile.
Right.
So I think those are the best days because all the joy and what I know I'm truly called to do, I finally get to see the results and I get to change someone else's life.
And what about like in the downtime? Because now that you're here, I know it's a brand new environment for you. Probably kind of getting used to the area. But when you're not consultating and things like that, like what do you like to do for your downtime?
I love snowboarding. I picked that up about a year ago, and at first, like it just for anyone trying to snowboard, you are going to eat crap, and your butt's gonna hurt, wrists are gonna hurt for at least like the first 6 times you do it, and eventually, though, I mean, as you probably can recognize from my work ethic, I wasn't gonna let it go and let it up until I could get down a mountain. But yeah, now absolutely, I love snowboarding because of how it takes you outside of yourself and it takes you into nature, which is just so much bigger than us.
Right.
Um, so yeah, snowboard, and then I golf, which my golf game. Yeah, but I mean, I can get through 18 holes, so I feel like
That's
that's
all that
pretty good
matters.
for a girl. Yeah.
Like the favorite part of the journey for you so far? I mean, you've been through a lot, um, and you have a lot of knowledge. I mean, you're like a walking book. So, for if you had to point out a couple, so far, like what's been the best part of everything that you've gone through?
Uh gosh, there's a lot of pearls that I could. My favorite part and something that I really take away from my journey is that I really believed in myself, and no matter what anyone told me, I knew I could achieve my goals. And I think that anyone can do that. And I think that if you can believe it, you can achieve it. Then you should never let someone else's expectations set your limitations.
And my last thing, or second to last thing, is why do you think that happens though? There's a lot of successful people out there, and sometimes it takes people a little bit longer than others. In your opinion, as to why sometimes people get held back.
I think it. I think it also it go it can it's multifactorial.
Mhm.
But I think it having a good support system and you know parents at least that will do anything they can to help you succeed as long as you really want to. I think the good Lord just he made me a little bit different. Where if someone, I just knew from a young age, if I wanted to do something, I was going to do it. Like there was no question asked. Even in my family today, my mom would say, you know, I was all over the place, but because I knew I wanted to do something. And so they would have to go and literally look for me because they couldn't find me because I was probably in the other room trying to figure out how to work the computer because no one else could. So I thought, I'm going to work it. I'm going to fix it. So I think that having a support system at home will really help you from a young age. And think going through those trials at a young age and, like I said, having that support system get you through it is really what's going to propel you into your future of being able to achieve something when things really do get hard and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm. Very, very good perspective. I just was curious about that. Your thought.
Also,
Um,
too, I think I'm a firm believer in the Lord, and He's got me through a lot.
Absolutely. Me as well. Thing I have is social media. Where can people find you?
So my Instagram handle is Dr. _Rachel Schick. And besides that, I'm only on Instagram. I don't really go on TikTok. I do have a TikTok, I think, that someone made for me. But mainly social media is going to be Instagram.
Okay. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much insight and again being vulnerable and sharing the story, um, from your time at Georgia even before. And I'm glad you were able to persevere and so many great things are going on for you. So best of luck to you and God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and God bless you too.